is a good thing that we have gathered in the house of the Lord this morning. I am absolutely excited about this moment in time, in history, in space, and this moment in the spirit. Today's biblical text will come from Mark chapter 16. Mark chapter 16, and as is customary for Dream Life Fellowship, we honor sacred readings from various texts that are birthed from our community at large. And so before we get to Mark chapter 16, the biblical text, I want to share a line from Toni Morrison's Beloved. "It's gonna hurt now," said Amy. "Anything dead coming back to life hurts." "It's gonna hurt now," said Amy. "Anything dead coming back to life hurts." And then Jesus, according to John, said, "You will do greater works than these because I am leaving." Mark chapter 16, we're going to deal with the first ending of Mark. Mark provides us, like a good movie, with the extra credits and the alternate endings, Mark provides us with at least 3 different endings, but I want us to sit in the tension of the first ending. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go out and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" When they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been moved. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man. Some translations say they were greeted by an angel. And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. Look at this place where they laid him. He's not here, but go tell his disciples and Peter that Jesus is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you all will see him just as he told you would." So they went out and fled the tomb, for terror and amazement had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. They got up after the sun had risen, and they went to the place looking for Jesus, and they were greeted by a young angel, angelic being, ancestral spirit, who told them, "The man you seek isn't here, he's risen. Now go tell the disciples, and especially Peter, that he will meet them in Galilee." But they were so amazed and so afraid at the same time that they left, and they could not say a mumbling word. They were so nerve-sighted. They were so nervous and excited at the same time that they left unable to follow the instructions they were given. And my title for today is Tag, You Are It. Tag, You Are It. Mother Teresa had it. Oprah has it. Thank God Sarah Blakely sure enough has it. She's the founder of Spanx. Can I get a thank you, Jesus? And Beyonce has it. This thing within them that compels them to go beyond the discomfort that comes when you are seeking to fulfill your responsibilities. The it factor. We've heard them talk about the it factor on American Idol. We've heard them talk about the it factor on The Voice. The it factor is that intangible energy on the inside of a person that invites others to participate in a future reality that is replete with uncertainty and soul-stirring wonder. The it factor, the it thing, strengthens you to do the difficult thing that must be done in order to bring forth that which must be born of you. The it factor, it strengthens you to do the difficult things that must be done, to honor the process that must be endured, so that you can bring forth the thing that must be born of you. Jesus had a dream. And Jesus embodied this it factor. There was something about Mary's baby, the carpenter, which convinced complete strangers to leave their jobs and endure long-term separation from their partners just to follow him. These people didn't know Jesus. They had not necessarily grown up with him. They were not there when people were making proclamations about his majesty. But there was an it on the inside of Jesus. And people dropped their nets and people walked away from their jobs and women shut down their stores to follow him. The it factor. Women and men shifted their life trajectories from fishermen to fishers of men, from women-led business owners to women holistic spiritual entrepreneurs and teachers. Jesus, the it within him, tended to shift beyond separatist notions of exclusivity to the inclusion of the least among them. Jesus was, for all intents and purposes, it. If anybody had an energy level that could captivate the masses, surely it was Jesus. The it factor. It strengthens you to do the difficult things that must be done in order to bring forth what must be born of you. And the it factor. It strengthens you to bring forth the change that has to come. It. We all have it. And if you ever grew up, possibly as a child in the South, in the rural, in the country, I'm proud of it. If you grew up as a child, you've even been it. Well, Kanisha, when was I it? You were it possibly when you started saying 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Ready or not, here I come. In the childhood game of hide and go seek, there is a what? An it. And the it's responsibility is to seek out people who are hiding in familiar places. I am preaching this morning. And if you're not on the train, you got about 5 more minutes because I feel a run in my spirit. And it would stand there with her eyes covered and it would go through the chorus. 5, 10, 15, 20. Ready or not, here I come. And as it is 5, 10, 15, 20. People are scurrying and hiding behind oak trees and pecan trees and down in ditches and up under porches. People are scattering in the street. No, this not true. No, this not true. But we're going to stand still because it is coming. It. We all have it, and the purpose of the it factor is to strengthen you to do the difficult things that must be done to bring forth that which must be born. And the purpose of it is also to give you the push you need to bring forth the change that must come. Tag, you are it. And so the women,
go ahead.
They leave at the rise of the sun, according to Mark. But according to Luke and John, they traverse through the darkness. Yeah. And my ancestral witness says that light and darkness are the same unto God. My ancestral witness and African heritage says that darkness is the birthplace of all things. Without darkness, there is no light. So basically what I'm saying is, even though seminarians, we witness a synoptic problem through our African gaze, they're using the same language about the same thing, because darkness is light-bearing, and light-bearing has dark capabilities. So the women were going early in the morning, looking for the one who had brought the energy of it into their consciousness. The women went early in the morning looking for Mary's grown baby, because he had empowered them. He had tapped into something on the inside of them that others had tried to convince them was inappropriate. The women got up early in the morning, going to give honor to the body that once embraced them, going to see one more time the lover of their souls. The women got up early in the morning, going to see the very place where hope had died. The women got but it gives you the ability to do the difficult thing that must be done so that you can bring forth what must be born. They did not know how the stone was going to be moved, but the it factor on the inside of them would not allow them to sleep in. What am I trying to say to you? I know that I have some folk in here. You were Christian at one point and now you're unaffiliated. I know I have some folk in here. You say you Christian adjacent, meaning you Christian by affiliation. I know I have some folk in here. Maybe you never grew up Christian, but you see Christians like Donald Trump, and you see Christians like Paula White, and you see Christians like Joel Osteen, and you see Christians like the folk at Trump rallies, and you see a stone in front of the message. You see a barrier to the good news, but I just want to press you to get up and come anyway. I just want to press somebody this morning to allow the energy within you to draw you to God through Jesus anyway. Be like the women and go anyhow. Yes. Because of who God has been to you through the witness of Jesus. Yes. Let me pause here for a minute. Because we are an educated people. Some of us have studied original languages. But I want you to find peace this morning. The question Jesus asked that was most transformative was, who do you say that I am? Yeah. And when you locate who Jesus is for you, you won't be distracted by the boulders or the communities or the people who represent obstacles to your faith. Yeah. You are compelled by the fact that you are it. You are compelled by the fact that one day someone, somebody, some song, some sermon touched you and you became it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Ready or not, here I come in the game. The people are hiding. In the game, it is blinded. In the game, it cannot peek and see where people went, but in the game, it knows instinctively where to look. And why does it know instinctively where to look? It knows because it used to hide. The only way you can become it is if you're playing the game and you're hitting and it tags you. So at some point, we were each hiding. At some point, we can relate to the women in the story. We were each too terrified and too afraid. At some point, we were each too embarrassed to bear witness to what the resurrected Christ presented. At some point, we've all hidden in familiar places, or as my granny would say, we've all hidden in plain sight. Some of us like to hide in Belvedere. Oh, can I get a witness? Some of us like to hide with a little reefer. Some of us like to hide in sex. Some of us like to hide in depression. Some of us like to hide in isolation. Some of us like to hide behind boulders that we feel cannot be moved, but it is coming, ready or not. It is coming, ready or not. And it knows how and where to find you because it, he, she, it were once there. In that same place, in that same tomb. Every part of everybody in here, or maybe a little part, or maybe 15% has been buried in something. There is some part of your consciousness that you buried prematurely. There is some part of your gifts and your ability, if I could just get a witness, that was buried because impressed systemic change too much. There is some part on the inside of you that you buried because of rejection, that you buried because of pain, that you buried because of violence, that you buried because of violence, that you buried because of lust. It is looking for you like the women. It is pressing early in the morning, looking for where you have laid yourself. The women knew that there was an obstruction waiting for them, but the power of the it factor gives you the ability to do the difficult thing. And sometimes the most difficult thing is to hold you. I don't want us to get it twisted on this Resurrection Sunday morning. Resurrection power is very elusive. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. And Jesus went on to resurrect a little girl and to resurrect Lazarus. But when Jesus went in the graveyard, most people stayed buried. Sit in that tension that everything you want won't be revived, won't be resurrected, won't be made new. Some things will stay dead. Some relationships won't mature. Some seeds won't blossom. Some ideas won't flourish. But don't let that become the barrier that seals the tomb of your desire and your imagination. Be like the women. Get up early. Press your way. The women went. And there was a being waiting for them. The women went. And there was somebody in the dead space who wasn't there originally. The women went. And there was a witness to the power that the women did not anticipate. The women went. And when they got there, there was a word waiting on them. And I just hear the Spirit saying this morning, if you will face it, there will be witnesses to encourage you. I hear the Spirit saying this morning, if you would just be willing to push your way to that place of brokenness, that place of pain, even if the situation doesn't change, a change can happen on the inside of you because somebody has been sent ahead of you to encourage you. Sometimes we feel going alone. And I so wanted to preach the text you all are accustomed to hearing on Resurrection Sunday morning. I so wanted to preach John because it's not as tension-filled. Mary pressed her way through darkness. She got to the temple, to the tomb, there was a witness. She saw the witness and followed the witness's instructions. But if we can be honest for a minute, that's not necessarily life. There are some things we encounter that frighten us so much that we begin to despise the power of our own voice. There are some things in life that we encounter, and instead of allowing excitement to take over, we allow our nerves to take over. Instead of allowing courage to take over, we allow fear to take over. Instead of allowing our individuality to take over, we allow who mine was to take over. Instead of allowing our maturity to take over, we allow our childhood immaturity to take over. Instead of allowing faith to take over, we allow doubt to take over. And here is the thing, you can do all that at the same time. It took courage. It took faith for a group of women to leave their homes early in the morning to perform a ritual, but their courage and their faith didn't increase when they got the word they needed. Please pray and shut down. Please. Their courage and their faith did not rise to meet the word of assurance that they received. Think about it. They labored with Mary's baby. They've been talked about. Who are all these loose women following up behind that single man? They labored. They'd given their money. Salome had left her husband because something about Jesus ignited the it factor on the inside of her. These women had left businesses to family members and friends because something about Jesus ignited the it factor on the inside of them. And Jesus had told them in coded language, they're going to destroy this to me, y'all, but I'm about to get about this thing. But they didn't quite understand it, but they had faith and courage enough to honor his body through ritual. But when what they went looking for wasn't there, they chose to doubt. They chose not to follow instructions. And what I'm trying to say to you is, in this season, too many of us are looking for an old thing in a new situation. Sometimes the it factor is reserved for those moments 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. By this time in the game, it is no longer blinded or concealed, but it is looking for people who are hiding in familiar places. I remember as a girl when I was it, the first place I would look was behind the trees, because when nobody quite thin enough to hide all of their personhood behind the tree. The next place I would look was behind the shrubberies in Miss Gladys's yard, because people would lay out behind the shrubbery. The next place I would look would be up under Miss Rubin's porch, because you could slide under there and you could hide. And then finally somebody would try to run past me to home place and home base, and I would tag them and I would say, "Tag, you're in now," and the whole cycle would start over again. We would all come back to home base. But listen to this. Even when I tagged somebody, there were people who would run past me and they would get to home base and they would tag and say, "Safe." And all I'm trying to say this morning is, if you find yourself in a situation where you've been hiding and you don't know yet what to do with all the gifts and abilities that lie dormant within you, you don't know how to go forth and do the thing the risen Christ is calling you to do. If you just make it here to home base, you can be safe a little while. And those of us who are ready to be it, we will continue going, looking, searching, seeking, finding other hidden people, and eventually all of us will go back into that cycle of hiding and being found, doing the work of evangelism and telling the testimony. That's the tension of this narrative. As I prepare to close, the women who had walked with Jesus, the women who knew Jesus, they were so imprisoned by fear. These bold, courageous women who once risked everything, at the moment, the defining moment of faith, they chose to opt out of public declaration. Instead, they left muted and afraid. And if you hear nothing else that I say to you this morning, please hear this. Your witness and your testimony and your declaration is an invitation for somebody else to see and meet Jesus. If you would only open your mouth and declare the goodness of God in the land of the living, if you would only be willing to testify that because Jesus lives, you can face tomorrow. Because Jesus lives, all your fear is gone. Because Jesus lives, your hope is rooted and grounded in the God who holds tomorrow. If you would just do otherwise, if you would just do what the other gospels say the women did, if you would just speak, if you would just bear witness, because in the end, the ministry and legacy of Jesus resonates and rests, rules, and abides in those of us who are willing to be it. Are you willing to commit to being it, having the power to do the difficult things that need to be done, and having the ability to bring forth the change that needs to come? That's what's so beautiful about Jesus. His oneness with God allowed him to tag 12 people and the women. And when he tagged 12 people and the women, they went out tagging other people. I just want you to sit here and ask yourself, if I don't tag somebody, what will be lost? What work will go undone? If I don't get about the business of seeking, hiding people, 5, 10, 15, 20, who will know that the tomb is open and never sealed? Who will know that eternal life and power and possibility is resting within them as creation of God? Who will know that being buried and being planted looks the same based upon your perspective? Who will know that we are God's dream seeds called for such a time as this? salvation to